Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good.
Excellent.
Not too bad at all, thanks, sir. How are you?
I'm
just thinking, actually, the voice is a bit weird, but apart from that...
Yeah, no, it's all good. Your voice is going. We did board games last weekend, and your voice was fine at the start, and then by the end, it wasn't like a particularly angry session. It makes it sound like you were shouting a lot.
Yeah,
but you
I
weren't.
was shouting at everybody.
It was weird. Your voice just kind of went. I think it's a change of temperature. And speaking of which, I have turned this fan down to a minimum, and I don't think you can even hear it. But if you can, like, tough shit. It's really hot. Matt will attest. I live in a very hot flat. Yeah, when in the summer it gets very hot up here. So Matt used to do this in person here. You remember how hot this place gets sometimes. Yes. It's unbearable. It's all right at the moment. It will get worse. But anyway, really enjoyed doing Reanimator last week.
Yeah, that was great.
That was good fun, and excited to find out what we're going to do next. But you can tell me that at the end of the show. For now, let's talk a little bit about films we've seen this week. Do you want to kick off?
Sure. I'll start off with Shazam then.
Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
Yeah, so we've got David F. Sandberg directing, Zach Levy returning, Asher Angel, Jack Dylan Glazer, and then of course we've got the other adults playing the younger. Adults playing the adult versions of the teens, and the teens. So we won't go into all that lot, but we've also got, more importantly, Helen Mirren and Lucy Lewis on bad guy duties. So it kind of picks up mostly from where the last one ended.
Now, I enjoyed the last one. Did you? You had a good time with that too, right?
Yeah, I did. It's good fun.
Yeah.
So you've got basically Billy, I suppose you would say. Billy is sort of having a bit of a, bless him, not even midlife crisis, but he's having a bit of a young life crisis.
Well, he under a tremendous amount of pressure for a young man.
He is, he can't seem to, herd all of the other Shazamlings into one cohesive unit.
Sure, turning a bunch of kids into superheroes was a bad idea. Is that the lesson he's learning? Yeah.
With the exception of Mary, who's now...
She was the oldest anyway, though, right?
Yeah, she's the oldest anyway, and now she's actually played by the same actress in both forms.
Oh.
Yeah, so she's now...
Oh, I guess she was the oldest anyway. Yes. I guess that kind of makes sense that she
Which
probably...
is weirdly one of the problems with Billy. The actor who plays Billy
is the kid getting too old
has
now.
Kind of shot up quite rapidly.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look like a kid anymore. It's like, ooh, he doesn't look like Zachary Levy at all.
Oh,
but
no.
it's a minor thing really, but
yeah.
I'll tell you what the problem actually in a bit. So he's having this problem trying to sort of get them all together, and he's trying to sort of seek therapy from a pediatrician who doesn't understand why he's talking to him.
Sure. Because he can't give away his,
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually Shazam that's talking to him. I keep wanting to say.
Oh, he's doing it as adult Shazam.
Yes.
Okay.
I keep wanting to call him bloody Captain Marvel, but
well, he is.
It's an old hangover.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair.
Mainly because Shazam sounds stupid as his name.
Yeah.
It's the word he uses to make him a superhero.
And it's a word that he then presumably can never say. When they're like, what's your name, superhero?
Yeah,
he's like, something beginning with S and H.
Sort of slight running theme through the movie is that he doesn't know what to call himself.
Oh, okay.
And the press basically call them like natural disasters, or the press hates them because they keep destroying things.
Sure.
Basically, when they're trying to save people.
Which I think is a very realistic response of what would happen if superheroes appeared. People would just be really pissed off and ungrateful.
Yeah.
I just think that's what would happen. Twitter would just be full of people complaining about them.
Yeah. So enter Helen Mirren's. What's her name?
Always nice to see Helen Mirren.
Hesperia and Lucy Liu's Calypso.
Always nice to see Lucy Liu as well.
Yeah, who are daughters of Atlas.
Okay.
And they, at the end of the first movie, of course, the staff of the wizard gets broken, and that has released them from their prison. They were basically imprisoned by the wizard, and now they are free. So they get the pieces of the staff, and now they've basically decided that they're going to make their own kingdom on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you've got them unleashing the tree of sort of life, or the tree of the golden apples, and this amazing dragon. Actually, it's one of my favorite dragon designs. Actually, it's really good.
Mm.
So there you go, and kids trying to deal with their inner conflicts while dealing with magic and all sorts of monstrous things. And of course, if the staff touches the kids, or this beam hits them, they immediately lose their powers.
Mm.
So you've also got, it's kind of in the trailer, there is a third sister who is sort of infiltrated into the school because she's obviously the younger one.
Mm.
And she's trying to find out where Shazam is, because obviously people know that Billy Batson knows Shazam.
Yeah.
It's overall it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's still funny. It's nowhere near as good as the first one.
The first one just had such a lovely, as when you think about it, Shazam or Captain Marvel, whatever you want to pick as a name.
Yeah.
It's such a nice kind of kid story.
Yep.
He's an orphan, he lives with other kids, and then he gets these amazing powers, and he's like big but with superheroes. It's a great concept. Yeah. I don't know how you do a sequel that's not kind of just another superhero movie at that stage,
Yeah, the sort of some of the stuff with the teenagers, sometimes it gets on your nerves, but it's actually not that badly done. It's kind of it's them sort of trying to sort of do their own thing, and sort of
the lesson is that they need to come together at the end. Is that the
idea? Freddie, that's it. The Jack Dylan Glazer is Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's a disabled boy. He's also got these wonderful powers. So he properly wants to take all advantage, and he keeps sneaking out at night and doing things away from the rest of the family because he wants to be this amazing hero. And he's the guy that was he knows all about superheroes anyway.
He was the fan, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was already the sort of expert on all this, and he's still great. I still like him, and you've got Adam Brody is obviously the old.
So are the other kids all the same actors as well as last time, apart from her?
No, she. So
because you said they've recast
as Mary, but now she also plays the older actress as Mary. Because originally in the first movie, there's a different actress playing the older Mary Marvel.
Right. So it's all the original kids.
Yes.
And the kid now plays the adult version of Mary, the superhero version as well. Okay, right. So it's all the original kids come back for this movie. That's cool.
Yes.
Because I thought they were all great in the first one. So
yeah, they were actually, and they to be honest, they still are in this.
Mm-hmm.
You've still got the the little cute one who wants she wants to see a unicorn, and obviously this movie's going to go there.
Yeah.
Bad guy duties, they're fine.
Okay.
They're not as far as I remember, they're not actually Shazam villains. They're, I think, specifically made for this movie.
Sure.
Helen Mirren looks like she's saying the lines and has no idea what she's saying.
Sure, she probably doesn't.
She still does, relatively well. I mean, it's still Helen Mirren, so it's still Lucy Liu, however, is properly phoning it in.
Okay.
She has her moments, but I don't know whether she just doesn't really want to do it or not. But I mean, she can definitely do better, but it's not really a problem. One of the weird problems I think with the movie is that the child Billy doesn't really act like adult Shazam. It's really weird. It's like
because in the first movie,
up and
right. See, that's weird because in the first movie they did a really good job with that. Where is it Zachary Levi? He played adult Shazam exactly like child Billy, and that was kind of the thing.
I think child Billy has got more childish.
Oh no, they've kind of like reverted him back to.
Yeah, he seems to be more like, it's more like literally what it is. It's an adult playing a young boy.
Yeah,
and it's not bad. It just doesn't match very well with the, Asher Angel's portrayal of Billy, who not that he's Billy very much, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But whenever they are, there is a very marked difference between their styles, which is a bit weird. Some of the CG's really good, some of the CG's really bad. The monsters that get unleashed are really cool. I was very heartened to see that the Cyclopses are literally Harryhausen Cyclopses.
Nice.
Which was a really
they've actually taken the design.
Yeah, it looks like a Harryhausen Cyclops. And as I said, the dragon looks really fucking cool. I was really quite impressed with the dragon. And there's some nice little fight scenes and stuff, and it's not a bad movie at all. I think if you watch the first one, I think you probably come away not disappointed. But it's just not, doesn't quite hit the same mark as the first one did. And it kind of feels like it's pointless anyway. You know what I mean? It's sort of, we're at that horrible stage at the moment in DC where
it's like this is going nowhere.
What's the fucking point? Yeah.
And this is the problem. I think when the big boys, DC and Marvel, they decide everything has to be this universe, it all has to be interconnected, and no film can just be a good film in its own right. It has to just be the middle part of a never-ending story. Like, all of these films now that DC are doing wouldn't be a problem if they just focused on making good films instead of trying to continue a story, which they've now completely ditched. Because now we're like, there is no point to watching Aquaman, because I know Aquaman 2 is going to be leading towards something which will never happen. If they just focused on, hey, we're making a really good Shazam movie or a really good Aquaman movie, it's like, cool, because that can stand on its own.
Well, I mean, look at The Flash,
Well, The Flash is probably one of the worst of those, right? Because it's all been, haven't they even said that, like, Michael Keaton's done and everything's done, and it's all like, well, that was all for nothing, And
from what I've heard of the first couple of reviews, is the first hour is unbearable because it's mostly just two Ezra Millers running around.
Double Ezra Miller.
Yeah, but the second half apparently is relatively good.
Right.
That's what I've heard so far.
I will be honest with you, that film was only ever going to be a YouTube clip reel for me at some point in the future when someone decides to put all the Keaton and Ben Affleck bits together.
Certainly not going to go to the cinema to see it.
Zero interest.
I probably won't hire it either.
No, I have no interest. Other than I would like to see Affleck's Batman one last time, and I would like to see Keaton's Batman one last time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And nothing against the other people in the movie. I'm sure, can't remember who was playing Superman, but not man, because the alternate universe version of Superman, right, is Kara? Is it Kara? Meant to be Kara? So I guess it's...
I think she is supposed to be...
It's that world's super...
Kara Zor-El.
It's Kara, yeah, okay. Kara, whatever. Comics. But yeah, so I'm sure she's fine. But I just don't. I'm just not interested. We've said before.
Caddy, apparently.
Right. I'm sure, you know, she's fine, and I'm sure the rest of the cast are fine. I have never liked Ezra Miller's Flash.
No.
I just never thought they were very good at it. So I'm not interested in watching a movie with one of them, let alone two.
Yeah.
Or
Possibly.
more. Who knows?
Yeah, possibly three if some of the rumours are true.
Yeah, you're starting to see a picture of why they couldn't be fired despite some of the horrendous things that they have apparently done. Yeah. I guess they were like, well, you know, some exec was probably like, fire them, and they were like, well, they're three main characters in the movie. We can like refilm the whole thing again. I guess we should be thankful because wasn't Keaton also involved in that Batgirl film that got cancelled?
Yeah.
So I guess we should be thankful that he at least got to play Batman again once.
Yeah.
You know, it was looking at one point, I was like, oh, is everything Michael Keaton done going to be erased from history? You know, like all of the new DC stuff. But so where do you rate Shazam in the, you know, because we're probably, I mean, let's be honest, are we going to watch Aquaman 2?
I don't think I am.
So we're probably at the point.
I liked Aquaman. I thought it was,
it was fun.
It was entertaining.
Yeah.
There were some really nice, you know.
Let's put it this way, but
and things.
Yeah.
And I see, again, kind of like Ezra Miller, I don't think Jason Momoa was terribly suited to playing Aquaman.
No, not at all. Not traditional Aquaman, certainly.
No.
But they were like, oh, we need to make him edgy, you know. The
more edgy 90s version of
Aquaman,
which was fine. I quite like, you know, the I've got a trident for a hand Aquaman.
Yeah.
During the 90s, you know, it was kind of fun. And, there was actually genuinely some interesting stories in that sort of run. Because, you know, I'm fucking give monkeys about Aquaman. I never really have, despite being a DC person. I would say give it a go if you like superhero movies, and if you like the first one. It's fun enough. There's enough fun to be had. If you don't care, and if you certainly didn't like the first one, then I would say just don't bother at all.
Sure.
It's not going to bring you anything that the first one, you know,
didn't. Yeah.
And if that didn't do it for you, then this certainly will not.
Sure. I enjoyed the first one. I will probably give this a go at some point.
It's a fun, more kid-friendly, superhero movie, which is not a bad thing. To be quite
not
honest.
Not at all.
So I would recommend it on a fun kids movie, but there's no real sort of great urgency to see it at all.
No.
The main kids are all good. The bad guys are kind of phoning it in. Some nice creatures. That's it, really. It's I don't think I'm spoiling anybody's fun by saying there's a Wonder Woman cameo in it, and which was quite fun. But again, that just adds to the whole,
this is going nowhere.
It's going nowhere.
Because again, I guess that's the last time we'll see her, right? Because they deleted her from Flash. So I guess that's the last time we see Wonder Woman or Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman.
She might appear in the Flash, because I think the Flash
Aquaman
is really heavy on the cameos.
Oh yeah, I'd heard that she was in it, but they removed her and Cavill's cameos. That's what I'd heard. I don't know. It's all rumor. I guess at some point someone will tell us.
I think it's going to be one of those blink and you'll miss it things, though, for most of them.
Yeah. So is
on screens, sort of behind.
Is Wonder Woman reasonably embedded in this film, or is it just?
Oh no, she's
just turns up and she's like, "Hey, you done good," and
yeah. The ending, I will say, is like. Do I spoil it?
I can't tell if your next word's going to be rubbish or brilliant. It could go either way.
Okay, if you don't want to hear it at the end, listeners, just tune out for a couple of minutes.
Go on.
Basically, the Shazam sacrifices himself.
Right.
He sacrifices himself and dies.
Oh.
And then in the last 10 minutes, Wonder Woman turns up and he's brought back to life.
just magic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally.
Well, I mean, Shazam was always magic, and
yes,
whatever. It's fine.
But
I guess
what's
certainly removes the stakes. Not that it really matters if there's no films going forward. I guess it doesn't matter. But
why bother if you're gonna just bring him back 5 minutes later?
Yeah.
I mean, it probably would have been brutal for children watching if you'd have killed him off and not brought him back. But
would have been quite funny. But yes, you're probably right. Probably a bad move from a marketing standpoint and from an entertainment standpoint for kids.
And just don't write the sacrifice in. I
agree. It's pointless if you're doing nothing with it. I absolutely.
Like then you just got severely injured and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You don't need the death and resurrection. It just cheapens the whole thing.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Well, that's Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and I think I will. Do you right? So one of these films we've watched together. Do you want to continue on, or shall I let you rest your voice for a bit, given that you've still got 3 movies to go?
No, I'm good. I think I'm all right.
You're good. Let's
still hear me.
I can still hear you. I just thought you might want.
Or anything. It's just weird.
Oh, cool. Okay, well that's fine. You sound fine. I can tell because I hear your voice all the time. So, but no, you sound fine. Okay, well in that case, let's do SISU, a film which we have both watched. So SISU is a historical action film set during World War II, towards the end of the war, and is set in Finland, right?
Yes.
With the German soldiers retreating in defeat, and they're basically like scorched earth. They're just gonna burn and pillage everything on the way out, get something out of this. All of these soldiers and lower ranking, soldiers and generals and whatever.
Basically, so I actually looked this up because I don't know a lot about.
I don't either. I was going to say I don't know.
So Finland was actually on the side of the Axis,
right?
So they were against. They started what was called the Winter War, and they were against the Russians. So they fought a war against the Russians, and then basically they signed this treaty, and then they stopped at the beginning. So this is near the beginning of the war, and then they started working with the Germans, and so the Germans basically, came in to fight against the Russians, and then of course this new pact has been signed between Finland and Russia, and basically Finland were told you've got to make sure that all the
I do know. I do vaguely know about this because there's the sniper guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So who the main character is kind of based on, very, very loosely.
Okay, I'd not put 2 and 2 together there, but that kind of makes sense that he served as inspiration. I mean, obviously you can't. Yeah, I mean this is not a realistic film, guys.
No.
This is not historical. That's why I hesitated when I said the word historical. It's set in World War II.
So basically, the Germans are trying to get out of Finland into Norway.
And to steal as much as they can on the way out.
And basically just destroy all bridges, burn all villages, just destroy as much as they possibly can as they're leaving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And basically, Astami, is it?
Yes.
Is guy who's turned his back on the war because he's clearly lost
his family,
and he's basically gone to the middle of nowhere, basically just to dig for gold.
Yeah, with his dog.
Yes.
And he lives a kind of lonely existence digging for gold. And he does eventually come across a rather impressive vein of gold.
Yeah.
One thing I will say watching this film almost immediately, in fact, I messaged Ben about this. I was like, I'm kind of impressed with the cinematography of this film.
It's beautiful.
Because I wasn't expecting much at all. Really,
no.
And I don't know what I was expecting, but I was like, well, this is actually quite a pretty film.
I was expecting a little bit because I'm going to butcher his name, Jalmari Helander, who directed this.
It's Rare Exports,
directed
right?
Rare Exports.
Yeah, that was a good film.
And that is a genuinely great film with some beautiful shots in it as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So he can certainly, make a beautiful looking movie. I still haven't seen Big Game.
No.
It was on my list for ages, and I never got round to it. But the first 20 minutes are kind of, maybe not 20 minutes, first 10 minutes, let's say, are kind of just him walking around this beautifully bleak landscape.
Yes, and you hear explosions and things in the distance. In the very far. And
just that beautiful shot of him sort of just stood there on. Because it's kind of like a moor, isn't it? It's very desolate, very flat, and he's looking off in the distance, and you can see the
light of the explosions, and
the flashes of explosions in the very distance.
It's beautifully shot, and it certainly evokes. I think this film, despite its ridiculousness, and we'll get to that very shortly, I think this film does do a surprisingly good job at that kind of horror of certainly early on, like you said, before the ridiculousness kind of really starts. Seeing this lone survivor, I guess. I mean, he's lost his family, which we find out later, but he just watching him kind of survive in the wilderness outside of this war, but just seeing and hearing it all around him, and seeing some of that destruction, because you see pockets of it. I'm assuming that this film is.
And there's also the bit where he sat at the fire.
Yeah,
and again, it's beautifully shot.
It really is.
Planes go over, and he doesn't even look up.
Yeah.
Just completely ignores this massive bombers going over.
Yeah, I mean, he wants nothing to do with this war that's going on. But yeah, so then the ridiculousness happens.
You get these chapters. Is it 6 chapters, I think?
It's something like that, because the last one I was like, oh wow, there's another chapter, okay. Because I was pretty sure that was the final one, guys, but here we are.
Sort of, exploitation movie font, haven't they? It's like the titles come up and it's like, oh blimey, it's like we suddenly walked into a late Tarantino movie here or something.
Grindhouse or something, yeah. So he finds this vein of gold anyway, and it's quite a big vein, and he's kind of elated. It's one of the few times you see him kind of happy. Yeah. He has like this reaction to this gold, and He mines the gold, puts it on his horse, and decides he's going to ride into, I guess, the nearest town or city where he can find a bank to basically claim the cash. And he comes across first the general, retreating general, who is very disinterested in him and has like. Sorry?
Is he a captain?
I don't know what he is. A soldier of some rank.
Yeah.
Who basically disregards him completely. I mean, they just kind of laugh at him, and there's no real. He's a joke to them. He's a nobody. I think one of them goes to shoot him, doesn't he? At that point, and then he's like, "Oh, don't." It's like
sniper guy goes to shoot him, and
he's walking into death anyway. I think he says or something like that, because he's like, where he's going, he ain't going to survive. There's landmines and God knows what back there. It's fine.
And we also see that in one of the lorries they have a number of
captive
women that they've captured, and they've obviously been assaulting.
Yeah. And I won't go through the whole movie, but effectively shortly after. He comes across this the part. I guess it's this a detachment of the same group.
Yeah, I think they're trying. Are they fixing the car or something?
Either they were fixing the car or they were laying the mines or doing something. But effectively, they take an interest because one of them recognizes that he's got basically gold mining gear on his horse, and they decide they're gonna take the gold from him. And he basically murders all of them in quite quick fashion.
Very, very swift and brutal fashion.
Yes, it's very John Wick. As I said to my friend, this is the next in the long, ever-running line of John Wick movies that they're making, between Nobody and this, and there's going to be 1,000 of these now. These are the new MCU, I think, because they've realized that people like them, and I'm not going to argue because I've liked all of them so far. So I'm not complaining. It's an observation, not a complaint. can't wait for Nobody 2. I really cannot wait for that. That I'm very much looking forward to. But so after that, obviously the captain or general, as we said, he takes interest now, and he's like, it's a path of revenge. He's going to get this guy.
Well, it becomes a cat and mouse game, isn't it?
It does, and the more he tries,
when they come back, because of course he hears the gun. He hears the gun. First of all,
they think he's dead because they hear the first shot, but then they hear all the other shots, and they're like, "Oh shit!"
Gun continues to fire, and he's like, "Okay, that doesn't sound."
Yeah, maybe this warrants my attention.
So they go back.
Yeah,
and of course, the guy didn't pick up all of the gold. There's no, is it one of the guys has got it in his hand, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So one of the soldiers is dying, and he has a piece of gold in his hand, and of course the captain takes,
which makes him realize who it was, and then begins this chase. And as I said, the action in this film is ludicrous. The things that this person survives, ridiculous. Especially by the end, is fucking insane.
Yeah. They do make a fun thing of the fact that that the Germans radio their commanders, because they find his dog tag, don't they?
Yes.
And they radio their commanders, and their commanders tell them, "Oh my God, it's this guy, the
commander,
the immortal, they call him."
Yeah.
And he's killed over 500 people or whatever sort of thing. And of course the captain's like, "I don't give a fuck. Let's go. I want the gold." The war, as he says, the war is ending. We're losing.
We need gold. We're coming back with something to pay off our guys and pay off ourselves, and give ourselves something.
And a bit later, the woman says, "It's not that he's immortal; it's that he just won't."
Which, to be honest, is bollocks. He's definitely immortal. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say right here, there is no way he's not immortal by the end of this film.
And of course, SISU itself is a Finnish concept, apparently, that basically means sort of true grit in the face of all
never adversity. Give up. Yeah. Which he does, and I think, as ridiculous as this film is, I do think that Jorma Tomila, who plays Corpi, he's so good. He says, he's got one line in this film, pretty much. Right at the end. I think that's the only time you hear him speak. He is, his facial expressions, the emotion in his eyes, he really sells this. And even in the most ridiculous of things, I mean, this guy, anything you can think of happening to a man pretty much happens in their quest to kill this man. I mean, shot, drowned, set on fire, exploded, everything, right? Plane crash, literally everything. And he somehow does sell it, and I can't really explain it, because, like I said, this film is absolutely ludicrous. You have to go in with the mindset that you are in for a John Wick-esque ludicrous film, but it does have a surprising amount of heart to it underlying it.
And I think to do with that, that part of you that has to accept that this is a dude that
you either go with it or you don't, right? Yeah.
I think you have to love that character. You have to feel something for that character. Otherwise, why bother, isn't it? And I think with a character like John Wick and with this character, because they're characters that you almost immediately like, for mainly because of their portrayal, especially with the way this guy, portrays this broken but undefeated man.
Well, you just feel like he has lost everything to this war.
Yeah.
And now he's found something, and it's gold, right? But it could have. You feel like it could have been anything, but he's found some luck after losing everything. It's his one thing, right? And now, it's almost like you almost imagine that the day he lost his family, he was like, I'm just going to go out and just dig for gold.
Yeah. And
that's going to be my thing now. I'm not going to speak to anyone or see anyone. And then he's found this incredible wealth in this gold. And it's his one thing. It didn't need to be gold for this guy. It just was, right? And the Germans are like, no, we're going to take your one thing. And he's like, no, this is my thing. and I'm keeping this thing no matter what. And it's almost like, he is willing to die 1,000 times. He is keeping this gold. It's all he's got in the world, and that's his thing now. He's lost everything else.
And the performances of the other the captain, and
I thought the women were great as well. The
women are great.
Yeah,
they're very in a very small, especially
most of them have small roles because they're either barely in it or they die very quickly. So
Mimisa Willoma,
mm-hmm.
she's really good in the brief sort of role.
She's the one that delivers the speech, isn't she? About how he's the immortal commando and one man death squad or whatever.
Of course, the sniper and the tank driver, and of course the main character, were all in rare exports.
Yes, yeah,
and they're again really good. I mean, the sniper, you really hate that dude.
Oh god, he is an asshole immediately.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Like and in typical form, they let him live longer than they kind of bait it. Where you're like, I want him to die immediately, and they're like, no, we're gonna drag. He's gonna last a little longer than you want him to. We're gonna play on that, but no. Overall, very silly, very satisfying action movie set in World War II. Towards the end of World War II. Great characters, and like I said, I was surprised at the quality of the cinematography, especially given this film is like a $6 million budget or something. It's really quite low budget.
Yeah. I think apparently the director was supposed to be doing a comedy. I think it was like a sci-fi comedy.
Okay.
I think it was called Mr. Something and Mrs. Universe or something.
Right.
And then COVID hit, and he was like, put that on hold. So he wrote this to sort of
pass the time,
fill the time, and strip down crew and cast, and it's brilliant.
It's really fun. It's
so beautiful, and it's horror, and it's
it's one of the best looking silly movies. Like
yes,
yeah,
it is. It is one of the best looking, over the top silly movies you'll ever see, but
especially considering the budget.
And some of the things are so hilarious.
Yeah, I don't want to say. I'm trying to avoid saying too much because you have to just see it.
Yeah,
there were a few times I laughed out loud. I will be honest.
There were a couple of times where it's shocked laughs of incredulity. It's a great movie, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was really good fun, and it's well worth a watch.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're a fan of the John Wick and Nobody movies, this is right up there with those movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that good. I mean, because we're gonna, like you said, we're now gonna get a lot of these cheap action movie John Wick style movies.
Yeah,
I doubt we're gonna get many that are as well made as this one.
No, we're going to get diminishing returns for sure. But this was a lot of fun. But yes, so what else have you watched?
So I also saw the Super Mario movie.
Super Mario movie.
So we've got directed by Aaron Horvath, starring Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, Jack Black, and we start with the advert for the Mario Brothers. Actually, you don't. You start with the bad guys, but you get at the beginning their advert that they've made for Super Mario Brothers
plumbing advert. Okay, yeah.
Obviously, they worked for this bully guy.
So it does follow the Super Mario, the original kind of plan, the story of they're plumbers and they get stuck in this reality kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly that. They basically they're starting their new business because they were previously worked for this bully who really bullies Luigi. Mario, obviously, he stands up for Luigi, and even their family are like, that you're never going to get any work. Even his dad says, like, you know, you had a really good job and you've ruined it for this. It's like, oh, great, thanks. Well, meanwhile, this disaster happens, and I think I've got sneezing. Excuse me. Oh, sorry.
It'll happen. There you go. Oh. It would have just been hanging around otherwise.
It would have,
because it would have happened like mid-sentence if you hadn't just
So this disaster happens, and they're like, we can do this. Part of New York is flooding, so they go off and they know how they can do this, and you get these little scenes of them trying to get to a job at one point, and it's literally them running through scaffolding in a building site, like they're doing a platformer, which is quite fun. And while they're looking for the source of this, the blockage for this to drain the waterway, they find this entire mass of pipes and immense cavern of underground tunnels, and that they basically get sucked in, and then they get separated. And then when it does start, you get Jack Black's Bowser, who is he basically takes over this penguin kingdom, and then he's on his way to the mushroom.
That was one of the first trailers. That was really cute, that scene.
Yes.
That was really funny because they think they're really, they think they've done good, but it's like, no guys.
Yeah. And he's obviously weirdly he's on his way to the Toad Kingdom to marry Princess Peach. He's in love with Princess Peach, and he wants to marry her.
Sure.
So they're, Luigi ends up in the Dark Kingdom, Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom, and obviously then they go on a journey to Donkey Kong country, if you like, or
Yeah, we need to go to all the places we're doing spin-offs for, guys.
Exactly, yeah.
And why not? They're starting a massive, they're going to do a massive Nintendo cinematic universe, and fine, why not?
And I think this is perfectly good. It's a really good Mario movie.
You mean it's better than the original Mario Brothers movie? My God.
Look, that movie is terrible, but I kind of like it.
It's kind of brilliant in its terribleness.
So batshit. Yeah. And so, you saw the game and you interpreted it as this.
Okay. I don't think they played the game. I don't think anyone played the game involved in that film. Honestly, I think they saw a brief synopsis written on a fag packet and went, all right.
Oh man. Yeah, this is a pretty faithful interpretation of those characters.
How is Chris Pratt?
He's actually really good.
Because I know, obviously people complained that it wasn't Charles Martinet, the original voice actor who did, he did Mario from kind of N64 onwards when they had voice.
He voices Mario's dad.
Oh, Charles Martinet does the voice of. Oh, that's cool. See, I like that. That's nice. At least
so he is in it, and Chris Pratt for the most part is
presumably less stereotypical Italian.
It's a Mario, but not quite to that.
Sure.
The original extent. He sort of puts it on for like the advert and stuff. And when he says,
okay,
it's like he's putting it on as
really playing up the New York Italian for the advert.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Jack Black is great as Bowser. I mean, it's kind of just a more gruffer Jack Black, really.
Well, that's fine though.
Fine. Now, in it, this is one of those things that's hard to sort of be okay with, because I'm okay with Jack Black being Jack Black mostly, but gruffer and
sure.
What I'm not okay with is Seth fucking Rogen's bloody Donkey Kong.
Oh, is Seth Rogen playing Donkey Kong?
It's just Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, and it's just Seth Rogen's laugh, and
Is he not even putting on a voice? He's just literally doing Seth Rogen.
He is kind of, but Jack Black is at least doing something else. He's got, it's really hypocritical of me to say it, but
well, no, it's a different portrayal, and if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
But I don't know. I've never seen Donkey Kong as the stoner dude.
No, not at all.
He's okay, really, I suppose, but it felt a little jarring with everybody else that's going on in the movie. Anya Taylor-Joy is fine as Princess Peach. I don't know what I was expecting, but it's fine.
I hear
I love Anya Taylor-Joy, but it's just okay.
I hear she does her floaty dress move with the umbrella thing, which I love from Mario. Fond memories of that from Mario 2, so that makes me happy.
I think she's great as the Princess Peach. Actually,
yeah.
The performance just feels a little off.
Okay.
Almost. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels like it doesn't quite fit the rest of the performances that are going on. It feels doesn't feel like she's really. It just feels like she's doing it. You know what I mean? Like, how do I explain it? Doesn't really feel like she's acting a part. It just feels like Anya Taylor-Joy doing some lines.
Yeah.
And it's not bad or hideous. It just feels a little out.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, she's fine, and it's Peach is a nice little character. She's obviously they've ramped up the capable girl thing, but not to the extent that she's all powerful or
Peach has become a lot more like that anyway in the games, even.
They're
so
not really
it's not against
that she hasn't done before.
No.
Mario is Chris Pratt's really charming as Mario. Chris Day's really good as the cowardly Luigi.
Mm-hmm.
My favourite performance is, now I've got to try and find the name of the character. It's Leon. Is it Leon? Luma Lee, who is this little floaty star.
Okay.
And when Luigi gets captured and he's in this cage dangling over this lava, all the other sort of captured people, like the penguins and stuff, and they're all in these cages. And this little Lumily, it's got this tiny little childlike voice, and she's saying things like "more meat for the grinder," and it's like there is no escape, only the escape of death. And it's this lovely little childlike voice. It's fucking brilliant. She's literally only in it for like five minutes, but her tiny part. She's there, and she's in the end. There's a little end sort of thing, and I thought she was hilarious. There's this, massively cute sayer of death and woe,
right?
Which I thought that was my favourite part of the movie. Overall, it's actually just really good fun. It's really well done. There are lots of little nods to previous things like the TV series, because obviously the original cartoon, it uses the original cartoon tune and
awesome
stuff.
Yeah.
You've got obviously you've got setups for sequels.
Did they set up Zelda in this, or have they kept that out so far?
No, I don't know whether they're going to do.
Oh, they're definitely going to do a Zelda. Oh, yeah, I don't know whether they do a crossover, but they're definitely going to do a Zelda movie. There's no way they're not.
I'd have thought so.
Yeah, no, that would make sense though, because that's a bit more of a. It's very much its own thing.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think it's as good as Sonic, and I don't think it's as good as the Pokemon movie.
Sure, those were both great though.
Those were certainly the Pokemon movie was a real treat. I was
I was not expecting that to be anywhere near as good as it was.
And Sonic I thought was really good as well. So this is a really good movie, and it's a really good kids movie.
Yeah.
I would really recommend it to anybody who has small children who has any interest in Mario.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfect Mario movie. It literally did what people should be doing with these properties, and it's just make them.
Yeah.
You don't need any fucking bizarre plots and added bonuses or, changing the characters to suit a modern audience or whatever they call it these days. Just do what, people know they are. And that's exactly what they did. And it's a genuinely fun, sweet kids cartoon.
Yeah.
For me personally, it's probably not one that I would watch again.
Sure.
I'd happily watch Pokemon again. But yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's a really nice kids movie.
Awesome. It's definitely one I will watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Well, I also watched Evil Dead Rise, directed by Lee Cronin, and obviously, somewhat executive produced by Sam Raimi, and I think Bruce Campbell as well was involved in the executive production side of things. So obviously it's an Evil Dead movie. The difference this time is that it's in suburbia. It's in a high-rise flat thing, and that is one of the biggest pluses of the movie, I think, actually, because we've seen Evil Dead, we've seen Evil Dead 2, and we've seen the remake of Evil Dead, all in the same setting. Obviously, Evil Dead 3 was an exception to that. But it is kind of refreshing seeing Evil Dead stuff happen in a different location.
Yeah. The thing is that so the Evil Dead movies get more and more silly as they go along. And, you've got that with the TV series as well. That kind of continues.
Oh, Ash vs. Evil Dead is hilarious if you've never watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The remake was
its own thing, kind of
serious,
Well, it tried to go back to the original.
Humor in that movie.
No, that's the thing. It tried to go back to the original and be super serious. But I think they forgot the original's kind of humorous as well. Like it was never super.
Yeah, it's not 2 levels or certainly not 3 levels, but it's quite.
It's got its moments.
It's got a bit of tongue in cheek here and there.
Yeah.
But I actually do like the remake. I think I
like it for what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a pretty good horror movie.
It's one of those, I watched it and I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. It's like your Mario movie. It was like that. This I would watch again, though. This was fun.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a good start.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
Tonally, where does it fit?
Somewhere in the middle. It between 1 and 2. It's certainly got comedic moments. It's certainly got the over-the-top gore and craziness in places. But it is it's probably on the serious-ish end in places, and then it also veers into some really funny kind of comedic moments as well. I think it strikes a nice balance. And I don't know if I should say this because the opening to this movie is really fun, and I don't know if I can really talk too much about it. Right. I'll say this is such a minor spoiler, but I loved this. This was such a nice way to reintroduce us into the Evil Dead franchise. It starts with the unseen Evil Dead creature floating through the woods, and then into the sky and across this lake. And it's a drone. It turned out to be a drone, and it was such a cool, nice segue. The way they did it, it sounds probably quite corny in the way I've just said that, but the way they film it, it works really well because the kind of noise the creature makes turning into the drone noise is that kind of works quite well. Like it was actually quite a nice transition. And we basically start in the woods, this kind of lakeside vacation spot with these group of kids who basically all die horribly very quickly, and then we then see what happened one day prior to this massacre. And basically the movie is pretty much set in this block of flats. We meet a guitar tech called Beth. She's like the main star of the film, and she's discovered that she's pregnant while on tour. So she decides she's going to go visit her sister at these, this kind of rundown LA apartment complex. And while they're there, there's this big earthquake. And they've sent the kids out for pizza, and there's this big earthquake, and the kids find this concealed chamber, and it's basically full of it's got the Book of the Dead, and it's got like this old phonograph with with vinyl records and all this stuff. And one of the kids decides, hey, I'm gonna take that, and ends up playing. They manage to get into the book because the book won't open at first, and then one of the kids spills blood on it, and it opens, and they end up playing some of the first of the phonograph, as they did in Evil Dead 2, right? They or Evil Dead 1, they played part of it, and it was enough to start the incantation and start the thing.
I could also accept that sort of thing more, that kids are doing it.
Yeah, I thought the same. It was like, like if I was a little kid and I saw like a badass book like that, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I'm keeping that. I'll have a look at that. So anyway, they set it off, and obviously it all kind of kicks off from there. We meet some of the neighbors in the apartment. The biggest issue I had, and this is not really an issue, but early on, I struggled where I was like, I fucking hate everyone, all of these people. Like, I really couldn't stand any of the characters. But much like the Hellraiser reboot, by the end, I was like, oh, actually, I like you now. Like, you've won me over. Like, at first I was a bit like, oh god, I don't really like Beth, I don't really like her sister, I really don't like the kids. The smallest one, the little girl's kind of cute, and she's fine,
I think
it's hard to hate a little child.
Yeah, and in the Hellraiser,
so like she gets away with it, but the rest of them, I'm like, oh.
One specific character that was like that. He was the only one that was in for the whole movie. We're like, actually, he's the only guy that I want to live.
I wanted the gay guy. Yeah, that couple, I was like, the gay couple are the only people I like. But by the end, the heroin addict, is he a heroin addict? Is that right? The addict, the main character of the Hellraiser reboot, I actually liked her by the end. She won me over. I don't think she won you over though, did she? If I remember rightly.
Really.
No.
A little, but not really. I think
she won me over making sensible choices. That's what did it.
I will give her that.
It was against type. She didn't do the stupid thing most of the time. She did the sensible thing, Yeah. I'd shout at the screen and she'd do it, and I was like, oh, okay, you're actually going to do the sensible thing. So anyway, if you've seen the trailer, you already know her sister, the mother of the kids, ends up becoming possessed by the evil, and it all kind of takes off from there. We get some nice callbacks, some funny moments, lots of gore. The gore is fantastic. A lot of it seems practical, which is quite nice. There's a lot of CGI as well, and some of the scenes kind of, like one of the scenes in particular I thought was really funny, but it was almost kind of betrayed by the CGI, which looked kind of ropey, if that makes sense. But some really nice callbacks, some really nice moments, and overall, it's a really fun Evil Dead movie. It feels like an Evil Dead movie, even though it's not in the woods. It is in this apartment complex. It feels like you're watching an Evil Dead movie. It fits right in with the Evil Dead movies. It probably fits better. If you had to place it, I think it's its own thing, really.
Yeah.
But if you had to place it, I would say it fits in better with the original Evil Dead series than it does the reboot. And in fact, Bruce Campbell does kind of have a very brief cameo. And I think the director has said that as far as he was concerned, that was Ash. It's very minor. He's basically, there's a scene where they're listening to the phonograph. And they hear this kind of priest saying that, he wants to use the book for good, and that you hear Bruce Campbell in the background saying, like, get rid of it. It's called the Book of the Dead for a reason, and I think the director's basically said, like, as far as he's concerned, that's like time displaced Ash is like stuck in the past. and that's what you're hearing, which is a nice nod, but it's nothing to where you're like, oh, I want Ash in this movie. Because that's the problem. If you have a cameo, like an on-screen cameo by Bruce Campbell, you're like, oh, I just want Ash now.
I mean, there is the remake had him at the very, very end, and it was like, what was the point of that?
What was the point? That's the thing, because it doesn't fit tonally with that movie either.
No, it really doesn't.
So it kind of felt really jarring. Here you don't see him. You probably wouldn't even notice it was Bruce Campbell. I just know that voice, so I was like, I know that voice, But, you're not gonna... It's not distracting in any way, and it allows this film to be its own thing, and in your head you can be like, hey, maybe it is a continuation of sorts, somehow. Or not. You can ignore it, or you can keep it in there, but if you're watching it having never watched an Evil Dead movie, it will not bother you in any way, and you'll understand the film, and have a great time. I mean, it's one of those films, it starts at the end, so the lakeside bit is the end of the movie, basically. You kind of go a day previous and you see how we ended up in that situation ultimately. But it's really good fun. It's over the top gore, lots of blood, buckets of blood, some interesting homages to other films.
I've seen, the performance of is it Alyssa Sutherland is the possessed
She's
mother.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
She's not only as the possessed evil version of Ellie, but also as loving mother Ellie. Because there's like a moment when she's been possessed and she's like, please don't let it get my kids. She says to Beth, because they're kind of estranged sisters.
Yeah.
Basically, Beth goes to her for advice because she finds out she's pregnant and she wants to speak to Ellie, who has had kids. But when she gets there, she discovers that Ellie's actually, her husband's walked out on her and left her with the kids and just basically ditched her. And there's a scene where Beth's like, I'm so sorry, you should have called me, I would have been there. And she's like, I called you twice when this happened. This was months ago, like you've just not been around, But yeah, I thought her performance as Ellie is certainly the standout of the movie, which is kind of bad when you think, Lily Sullivan as Beth is like the star, and she's fine. Yeah. But Alyssa Sutherland is fantastic in this film. She's really, really good. The small kid, I don't know who plays her, but she was great. I thought she was fine, and hopefully, child actors are so much better these days than they used to be.
Nell Fisher,
right? Okay. But she's great, for a little kid, because kids can be annoying. She's not annoying.
I mean, I was just going to say, earlier on you said, how can you hate a kid? You're a Godzilla fan. It's really easy to hate kids in some of the Godzilla movies.
Wow. Yeah, that's fair.
Come on, how many times have you wanted the Kennys to die in a Godzilla movie?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's a fair point. Yep, I take it back. Some kids can be annoying, but not this one. She's cute and she's cool and she's funny, and it's the older kids that are annoying. The teenage kids are annoying, but I think that's intentional. I think that's a very intentional point. Yeah. They are meant to be edgy, and they're like edgy age, edgy teenage age. Good fun. I really enjoyed this one. I had a lot of fun. Yeah,
it's certainly on my list.
I would definitely recommend it. I think it's got the right nods to the original films. It's its own thing, and I would happily see more. Not sure how, obviously you would imagine the child is going to be scarred for life, and can't imagine how Beth would be in a sequel, because you kind of would assume she's probably going to prison forever. Because all evidence. Oh well, how these movies go. You know how these movies go. All evidence would seem to point towards the fact that she's murdered a fucking entire apartment complex by the end of the film.
A lot of horror movies, when they're over, you do. If you think about it, you do think, yeah, those people are going to prison.
I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's one thing if your movie is set in the middle of nowhere in the woods.
Yeah,
you can kind of suspend disbelief, but when it's like an apartment complex, you're like, really. You guys are probably guilty of shit. you know. But anyway, really good fun, and I highly recommend it. I had a really good time. Thought it was pretty well filmed as well. It's got some nice shot composition, particularly the scenes with Alyssa Sutherland. There's some great shots with her because she's got such good facial acting as well in this movie. And they really zoom in on her when she's kind of, you know, performing both as a Deadite and as a human Ellie. Yeah, really good fun, and I won't ruin the end, but it's awesome. There's some great moments in this film. Yeah, really enjoyable. So what else have you watched?
So I also watched Last Sentinel.
Not The Last Sentinel, as I discovered.
Not The Last Sentinel,
which is a different film.
Different movie. So this is a movie directed by Tanel Toom, starring Kate Bosworth, Lucien Lavescott, Martin McCann, and Thomas Kretschmann. So basically, we are in the not too far future. It's basically the planet is basically become Waterworld. Through climate or war, basically the water levels have risen, and there now exists just two very small continents on basically either side of the world.
Sure.
And there is a war going on between these two continents. Now, in the middle of the ocean is this little outpost, which is basically like an old rig. I think actually it's a Second World War post near the Thames or something. But anyway, it's on this post there is a small group of soldiers and this device that basically they don't really tell you what exactly it is, other than the fact that it's leaking radiation, and it's a world ender. Basically, if the things get set off, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is left, which isn't much, is over. So you have like a captain, and you've got Kate Bosworth's character, who's I think she's corporal. They've all got little jobs. There's there's a communications officer, and there's an engineer, and basically they've been living on this station for months, and their relief hasn't turned up.
Right.
So they're already into complete survival mode. They're slowly running out of things. That they can fish, so they're kind of surviving on just fish, really.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, eventually this ship turns up, which is completely empty, and there's a sort of a kind of a mystery as to what happened to the crew of the ship. Why haven't they received any relief? Why are their radio signals not having any return? Why are they not getting answers from their people? So you've got this sort of slow, sort of distrustful atmosphere building up between the crew of this thing, and is something else going on? Or is there anybody left? Are they the last people left? For all they know,
Yeah.
And obviously, everything on this rig is breaking down. It's all like, almost like sort of 60s, 70s technology that's controlling this.
Built to last.
Bomb thing and. Sorry.
Built to last.
Yes. Built to last. So it's long. It's a 2-hour movie. It really shouldn't have been a 2-hour movie. They could have definitely lost half an hour. the actual performances are really good. I don't remember the last thing I saw Kate Bosworth in, but I actually was quite impressed, with how she held herself. As, oh my god, I forgot she was Lois Lane. Jesus. Um, yeah, the performances are pretty good. For the most part, it does a really good job of building up the tension. What it doesn't do a great job of is some of the decisions and some of the sort of the world building are a bit like, really, fuck off.
Right.
They're good. They're doing that now, are they? Right. Okay. It's okay. I think a lot of people will be very bored because it is long, and it's very slow. For me, the performances kept me wanting to know more. They kept me there. Sort of.
Yeah.
I wanted to know where this was going. I wanted to know how this was going to end. And there is, there's obviously there's a sort of there's a mystery going on, and there's who do you trust, and
yeah.
are one or two other characters beyond stable? Have they gone too far now? And I liked that aspect of it. The overall story was nice if they'd have put a bit more meat on the bones. It needed a little bit more. It felt like it needed a little more thought into the world building and a little more thought into how that place worked, and it needed just a little more tightness to it. It needed some of the, if they'd have scraped off half an hour, it would have felt like a much more comfortable watch, and it would have been it would have zipped along a little better.
Okay.
I like the ending. I think for me it was relatively satisfying. It's a bit of one of those sort of, can humanity ever not fuck itself over sort of thing,
No.
And there's there's a climate message with this as well, which is fine. It's okay.
Hey, I'm doing my best here on my own in Bristol.
Yeah,
I'm trying, right?
Yeah, I mean, turtles aren't going to stuff themselves with plastic bags, so what else are we supposed to do?
Damn.
I really enjoyed it. I actually, despite its massive flaws and its pacing, I actually thought it was a nice little movie. I would recommend it, but I would say be prepared that it is slow and it is quite long.
Sure.
I think a lot of people will find it very dissatisfying, but I would recommend it as a sort of a nice little sort of sci-fi character piece, really. I think the performances for me were what kept me on board, or kept me going with the movie, before I think lesser performances would have made me gone, I don't think I can finish this. I would have, it's like, fuck this movie. So I can recommend it with the caveat that it is long and it is very slow, but it is, I think, satisfying enough.
Cool. Well, that's all the movies we watched. I just saw something, and this is quite it's nice because we'll I don't know if there are any deaths. I'm sure there probably have been. But I just saw that Peter Cushing was trending online, and my immediately thought was, what the fuck have Disney done now?
Oh God.
But it turns out it's just Peter Cushing's birthday today. So 26th of May 1913, Peter Cushing was born, and I was like, oh wow, that's a nice reason to trend, celebrating the life of Peter Cushing, one of our favourite actors. So there you go, a positive
Yeah, and a reason to watch something cool tonight.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same. I was like, what Peter Cushing movie shall I watch
Yeah.
tonight now? I might actually, because we were talking so much about Hammer's Frankenstein movies when we did our Reanimator review, I think I might actually chuck some Hammer Frankenstein on. Because I love his portrayal as the bastard Frankenstein.
It's my favourite Frankenstein.
Yeah, I get that. It's such a different portrayal. He really does own that role.
Yeah.
And it's always fun because, he was one of the great actors, and you just, every time you see him in an interview, he seems like the sweetest guy.
Yeah.
And then you see him in these roles, and it's like, oh my god, he's so good at just being awful,
Yeah.
and then you see him in other things like Doctor Who. Yep. Where he's just, real doddery, fun old dude. Yeah, great. Absolutely love Peter Cushing. So, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
So, quick couple of mentions.
Sure.
As you said, sadly there are.
Yeah.
Two major deaths. Tina Turner.
Oh, of course, yes. Yeah, yesterday was that? As we record this.
A couple of days back, I think. So, music legend and
god, yeah. And foray into a few movies, obviously.
Exactly,
Thunderdome.
Yeah, she was first in. I think her first appearance was Tommy.
Yeah,
she played the Acid Queen, which was perfect, beautiful performance of as the Acid Queen, and then of course we most famously is what's her character, Auntie something, isn't it, in Thunderdome?
I think it is Auntie. Yeah.
It's Auntie something. I forget what it was, but yeah, 83. Had an amazing life. And if you want to know anything about her early life, that Angela Bassett starring Tina Turner movie. Mm-hmm. Wow, what a really great movie, and what an amazing life she had. So sad for that, and also Ray Stevenson.
Yeah, of course.
58, a little younger, sadly. No, disclosing of how he died, but I mean, again, what a wonderful actor.
One of those actors, again, he's one of those that I feel like he was way more talented than a lot of the roles he got put in.
Yes.
He kind of elevated a lot of schlock.
I always felt that because he was such a big guy, I think it was hard to put him into smaller roles, if you know what I mean. Like you wouldn't expect him to just play some random character. Whenever he was on screen, he was quite a presence. So he I think he had a specific look and feel that it was I guess hard for him to be in a lot of the major roles, I suppose, that he should have had. Yeah. I mean, one of my favourite performances still to this day is his performance as Titus Pullo in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best TV shows ever made, Rome, and he was wonderful in it. And he was great in Punisher, and even the minor character in the Thor movies was
yeah. Yeah.
And I really liked him. Did you ever seen Black Sails?
No, that's a show I always meant to watch and never did. I missed the first season, and then I was like, I'll watch that one day, and I just never got up with it.
It's really good.
I hear it's really good.
And he was Blackbeard in it.
Mm-hmm.
And a very good Blackbeard indeed. So yeah, very sad. Ray Stevenson.
Yeah.
So moving on to the, oh my God, please do not do that. No.
Okay, this should be good.
Eddie Murphy is in talks to make a new Pink Panther movie.
Oh. Yeah, please don't.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to talk about Beverly Hills Cop again.
Steve Martin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if Steve Martin can't pull it off, as much as I love Eddie Murphy.
Is this a passion project for Eddie Murphy? Is this something he wanted to do?
No idea. Honestly,
I don't know about that.
I mean, I'm sure he could play a version of Clouseau.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I love Steve Martin. Steve Martin's a fantastic artist.
No, he was not. No.
Awful. Terrible.
I agree. I completely agree.
I can't really see Eddie Murphy doing any better, honestly.
No.
Yes, please, no. Do not make it so. You're never going to do better than Peter Sellers.
No.
And I think
it's iconic.
Those movies had a time, but were not at a time. I don't think you can recreate that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So yeah, please do not. But we'll see.
Yeah. Saw the trailer for is it The Creators or The Creator?
Oh, I saw that was out and I still haven't seen it. Any good?
Yeah, I mean, I started watching the trailer and I was like, it's kind of every sci-fi cliche ever. But the longer the trailer went on, the more I was convinced. And by the end of the trailer, I was like, yeah, this looks actually really fun. It looks good. It looks really well directed. So
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen any other trailers, but
I saw the Barbie trailer.
Oh, those Barbie trailers are hilarious. I actually, I don't know if I'm going to ever watch that movie, but the trailers, I was like, it's kind of fun. I mean, it's fine.
I'm certainly not going to go to the cinema to see it.
Oh, God, no.
I doing something about it.
It's just kind of fun. It looked funny. It made me laugh a couple of times. I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Some of the gags, I mean, it's obvious gags, but they are quite funny. And it is quite funny seeing, Ryan Gosling doing Ken and, Margot Robbie doing, I think it's fine. Did you see the bit when they were talking about having sex?
Yeah.
And they just have no idea. It's just really, stupid, but fun.
Yeah, I certainly will. I certainly give it a go.
I will probably watch it when it's on some streaming site. I won't. Yeah, I'm not going to go to the cinema to see it, but it did make me laugh. So.
Yeah, I think that I don't.
Oh, Meg 2.
Which one?
The Meg 2.
Oh yes, I meant to say that.
Jason Statham actually looks like Jason Statham might actually get to kick the Meg in the face this time.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it looks awful, and I'm totally
so did the first one. Yeah,
yes,
it's what they are. They know what they are.
Terrible, and I want to see it.
Yeah, I agree. It knows exactly what it is, just like the first film did, and fine.
Yeah, that first one was just fun.
Oh God, yeah, we saw that in the cinema together.
We did.
We had a really good time.
It was terrible, and I loved it.
It's knowingly terrible, though.
I mean, it's one of those movies as well at the time where they would, Hollywood was doing that. Let's try and appease China, and we're just stuffing Chinese characters.
Yeah.
And there's so many bits where you're just going, these Chinese people, they're really good,
Yeah.
It's like one of the worst ones was that. I mean, that's not even that old. It's that disaster one. Was it
Moonfall?
Yes.
I didn't watch it.
Oh, there was a whole part of the plot.
I heard your review, and I was like, "That's enough."
They literally
I've come close to pressing play.
We need fuel. Oh, our friends in China have given us all this fuel and all this extra rocket stuff. It's like, yay for our friends in China. It's like, oh, good God.
Oh dear.
I mean, Little Mermaid's going really well for them. So I don't think the Chinese have bothered with that.
Have they not?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm not hearing terribly good things about the Little Mermaid movie in general. Not just from China, from everywhere. But it's this weird. We're in this weird place right now. Especially with Disney and stuff. They're just going to remake everything they've ever done animation wise. I guess they're just going to go through the whole back catalogue, and each one of them seems to get worse and worse. Yeah. And then on off topic, but on the video game side, it's we're remaking Metal Gear Solid 3. And it's like, God, like there's not really any original. Like these big companies are just incapable now of writing anything new. You know, I know there's a big writer's strike, but pre-writer's strike.
The Final Fantasy remake.
Yeah.
Really good, but not remotely the same game.
Right. Yeah. Well, in some ways, at least you did something with it, other than just rehash the same thing again.
But maybe it's the sort of, it's the fact that it's hard to go back to play those games.
It is for some people, I think.
But I think that's part of that's part of the charm of those old games. I think if you want to replay them, then I don't know, using an emulator or whatever it is you would use, to get some of them. They
need to do a very good job for me to be interested in playing those. To be honest,
there's something about those games that in the first place. So, I think you should leave them as they were. Because
I agree. For the most part, I mean, I really enjoyed like the Resident Evil remakes and stuff. I thought they've done a really good job with. But I still play the original Resident Evil games as well. I think they're its own thing. But
because I think it's like where they came from. Things it's like because they've really got to start doing a few more of their own sort of thing.
I agree, especially when you've got amazing indie titles and video games, that is, and amazing indie movies coming out. It's one of those things. These big companies on all fronts, really, comics and everything. It all feels like they're just kind of rehashing and remaking. And even if they're not remaking a movie, it's like, well, what was the last Marvel movie that wasn't the same old tired formula over and over again? They seem to be doing that forever now. It all just seems like rehashing and remaking, and occasionally we end up with something fantastic. But it does seem rarer and rarer, and it's just like a sea of remakes and nonsense now. But never mind.
I mean, sticking with
we got more
games. Just on an amusing self thing. Have you seen the stuff for Redfall?
No.
When
I gather it's terrible.
Announced it was like, that is the game for me, even though you're a vampire hunter, not a vampire.
Well, the game for you, really.
Baby.
The game for you would have been Bloodlines 2, but that's like been kicked back forever now. So who knows when that's ever coming out?
I'm not sure it ever bloody will it?
I don't know.
Anyway. I've seen some amazing reviews for that.
Oh no!
It just looks like, and it was by the same. I mean, theoretically, the same people that did Dishonored and is it Deathloop and stuff like that. And this one it feels, by all looks, it just feels like they forgot how to make a decent game. It just looks so bad.
Oh dear.
I mean, that's only. It piqued my interest for the obvious.
Yeah, it's vampires,
that's probably a game I'll not touch. I think I'll leave that.
Yeah, maybe just avoid. I mean, I do the same with films, though. I let other people watch these things that I'm like, is it worth me watching?
I mean, I'm not. Movie-wise, I'm certainly not going to fucking see Indiana Jones.
Oh God, no! I don't. I will go so far as to say I have no interest in ever seeing that film. Not just like cinema, but like ever. Like you could give me a copy and I cannot imagine that I would ever watch it. I have zero interest. Below zero interest in that. Same with Star Wars. I just don't care. It's done. So, whatever. But is there anything else you wanted to discuss?
No, I think that's all good.
Do you have a film for next week?
I do not.
Oh! Okay.
I
thought you might, because you've been on a roll lately.
I have. This one was a bit one of those sort of, with all the stuff we've covered recently, I was a bit scratching my head as to what we wanted to do this one. So we'll discuss that on afterwards.
Sure.
So for now,
mystery,
yes.
Yeah, so thank you for listening, everybody. We will be back next week with a mystery movie, a deep dive, as we do every other episode. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we will catch you next time.